Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to the second installment of Zoom In on the Halal Metropolis. My name is Razi Jaffrey with the Halal Metropolis team. For those of you that are new to the series, Zoom In on the Halal Metropolis is a video series where we take a closer look at how the Muslim communities of Southeast Michigan are coping with the COVID-19 pandemic. For returning viewers, thank you for joining us yet again. Today we'll be speaking to Mohamed Sohoubah. Mohamed is a pharmacist, entrepreneur, and philanthropist. He is the founder and CEO of Biomed Specialty Pharmacies. We'll get a little bit more into his work during the interview, but Mohamed, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Raz.
So before we get started with the conversation, I just want to check in with you a little bit and see how are you doing? How are you holding up? How's your family during this whole thing that now it's been 1 year?
Yeah, it's been one heck of a year. Alhamdulillah, everything's going well. I have like everybody else, with families. I have kids in all different age group, and it's been a challenging year to keep up with all of them, with their projects and so on. And another means, running companies and being an entrepreneur has its toll. When you have to deal with all this, beside everything else we deal with. But so far, I'm enjoying kind of like seeing it kind of end, hopefully. And I'm managing through, and we just hope that we can see a better 2021.
Inshallah, yeah, it's good to hear that everyone's doing well.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about how COVID has affected your businesses and how you've been able to use your pharmacies and your expertise to help in the fight against COVID?
Yeah, so just a little bit about my background. I've been a pharmacist since 1998, so I've seen some things come through, that made me ready for this type of world, I would say. I'm involved in various businesses. So in one trend, I have the pharmacy business, which I have expanded to 23 locations in the past, I'd say 15 years. Then I started in the restaurant business. So, got myself involved in that about a decade ago. So you could say I immersed myself in so many different areas of business that I kind of seen the good, the bad, the medium, the issues. And then to put another spin to that, I'm also in the commercial and residential real estate. So I've seen that world, and I've seen it also as a tenant and as a landlord. So I'm like this one-stop guy that if you want to mingle about COVID and expect, I'm your guy, because of all the things I deal with, and it just gave me a very different perspective than most people. So that's really kind of like the background I come from. So let me just break it down business by business for you, if you like, and I could tell you how I coped with it, and how I use my leadership skills to help me guide me and the rest of my executive team members to pull through this. So
absolutely.
So in the pharmacy business, one of the pharmacies I own and operate called Biomed Specialty Pharmacy, and we also use masks, to make those medications. We use KN95, N95, surgical. So I had a decent amount. Normal, like any business, I'd had at least 6 months supply for my employees and for others that I distribute through. So when COVID hit, or when COVID was coming in March, I looked at my supply and I'm like, oh boy, this is gonna be something that I need to stock up a little more in. So right in February, I just began to order a little more, much more, maybe 5-6 times the amount I had of masks. And honestly, not to resell in the beginning. I was just worried about, I can't continue my operation if everyone's running out there to get masks. So I just basically purchase what I can from the marketplace. And as the demand increased, to be honest, the Oakland County Health Department knows my business pretty well. They actually contacted me and asked me that if I would be willing to switch the majority of my lab to making sanitizers. Now it was a challenge, but we figured we realigned our equipment and we started making sanitizers. And it had to be gel free, just alcohol sanitizer, similar to what you probably people saw in other places that produce alcohol. So we started making sanitizers. we bought about 2,000 bottles a day for 4 ounces, and we had a huge demand. So we turned our retail center here in Southeast Michigan, we turned it into a COVID-19 kind of relief center. So we stocked up on gloves, masks, different alcohol products, sanitizers, and we had a line of people. Honestly, my staff worked probably 15 hours a day, meeting the demand. About 15 employees. You kept working from 8 a.m. to almost past midnight, both making and selling, and helping people and answering their questions and calming their fears. So I was out there, myself. I would go through the long line and I would talk to people in a polite and trying to calm their nerves and let them know that just be patient. We had a limit on everything. We had the limit of like a couple of bottles of alcohol, a couple of bottles of sanitizer, a couple of bottles of masks, and we did our best. But we had, we did our best to meet the needs of the community. We had over probably 3 to 4 months of continuous business that was that we felt good about stepping up, making the stuff available at the regular prices. We did our best to make sure that we did not in any way took advantage of any situation. In fact, at some point we donated quite a bit of N95 masks that we got. We were able to purchase to healthcare systems around here, to the DMC, to Beaumont Hospital, as we felt those should have, of course, during that time, go to healthcare workers. And we also limited the sales of N95 to only, healthcare workers that were in the hospital setting. So we had policies and procedures to make sure that you showed your ID, you purchased only 4 or 5 masks, so you can allow other people to have a chance to purchase. So that's the role. That's the role we played in that. We still play that role right now. Of course, the supply has caught up with the demand to some extent, but we learned quite a bit. And we became proficient in the business to understand the various qualities of masks, the various qualities of sanitizing products, and we became almost like the advisors to the area businesses. As this is not someone that has a large business, they might not know whether to purchase a certain sanitizing spray or another. So they relied on local experts like myself, for a true scientific advice about these things, not a salesperson approach. And I gained quite a reputation of giving people good advice and let them make a decision.
And in your other life as a restaurateur, why don't you tell us a little bit about how have you survived during this period?
It is my so in the restaurant business, I owned La Palma in Midtown Detroit, and it would heavily relied on DMC traffic. It's in Midtown, North Wayne State. I also had another cafe in the medical school library. So those two businesses, honestly, it was a total shock. Not a shock, but I would say zero traffic. Especially the cafe in Midtown, we closed it down. We temporarily closed it down at the time. And I took the staff. Honestly, one of the members that works there, I gave him a job. I gave him a job to help me manage, through this COVID in the pharmacy business. The my La Palma restaurant, we basically worked with the time. Every month was a different plan. Very difficult to work in that. You just don't, as a business owner, you don't know what the next month will hold. So you're almost have to plan on a monthly basis. You got to be honest with your employee. We had to be honest with my employees, with my staff, with my manager there, and the rest of the staff to let them know I'm here for them. I'll do everything in my power to help them, survive financially. But at the same time, I couldn't guarantee them what's going to happen next month. I just, honesty is very important in this, and leadership, I would say, in general. So we, over time we did survive, of course. And honestly, for La Palma Midtown, to my surprise, we're doing better now than even before COVID. And I think mainly, and I think we survived the onslaught. I would say we survived, so for example, some of the measures I took, I reduced hours a bit. I carry out only, of course, just like everybody else. Lowered the menu to half. So in that, when your customers will understand you, we just told the customer we can't make 50 items a day of Middle Eastern food. So we can make the top 10. If you want, you could choose the top 10. And our customers, honestly, they're very understanding. They were very thankful that we even, had our doors open. So minimizing, your menu was very important. It was a very important thing for me, and I took that step. And of course, some of my employees and the chef were not happy, but I said, you don't worry about it. I know it's a strategy. I made a nice big poster to the customers saying, bear with us. We can only do 10. The top 10 sellers, and honestly, I think we our fan base grew, and we became, and like I said, we're busier than before. Luckily, I think because I know many other restaurants did not make it. My heart goes out to owners who struggled, to landlords who were not cooperative, honestly. I had a good landlord. I give him good shout out, JB, is a very good friend of mine, and a good landlord. Worked with us throughout the process, and we survived. So La Palma now, again, we're back to more than 100%, and we're enjoying the reward of being patient, I would say.
Yeah, it's tough. For the series, we've spoke to a lot of chefs, a lot of Muslim restaurant owners for halal restaurants and things like that. And it was tough. And sadly, a lot of places closed down. And our heart goes out to them, and we hope that they're able to recover once this kind of comes to a close.
And honestly, I don't mean to use my position as having extra money than other people, but I told people even before, restaurant business is very difficult to make money in general, and it runs on such a thin margin that any small thing can affect it. And I paid for La Palma to survive for over 6-7 months. Whether it's employee wages, whether it's the other bills. Some people don't give you a break. I mean, you have, all your bills are going to continue. No one's gonna reduce your taxes or
I know.
So I paid for my other businesses to help us survive, and I'm probably one of the lucky 5% that has that cushion. But I can understand for a lot of people who this is their main income, their main source of living, it would been we probably would have to close down if it was my main source of living. I do own another restaurant, and which is another example of a bigger problem. Hanith House in Dearborn, Yemeni food mainly. Honestly, I'm gonna just say it straightforward. Uncooperative landlord to some extent. Always his rent on time. Made it difficult for my partner to survive. Now my partner there, this is his main income, and we're getting back on our feet. We did similar to other restaurants. We struggled for the entire time. There was probably not even 1 month where we made money, and we paid out of pocket. We would put money out of pocket every month, and I could see for other other restaurant owners who don't have that cushion, they probably would have said, what, this is too much. It just probably easier to close the door and move on to another business. So restaurants are very difficult to run in general, and for me as a Muslim, I'm prohibited to carry certain things, and it's very difficult to make money on regular food. It's very difficult to make money on shawarmas and hanith, and
exactly, and
you're not pouring champagne that costs you $10, you charge $100 for it. So I tell people, restaurants, unless you love them and you have 10 people in your family, they're going to be cooking up every day.
It's going to be tough.
Business.
Speaking of the Yemeni community, you kind of mentioned that a little bit. In addition to your professional networks, you're very active in your community, in the Yemeni community and the Muslim community with several mosques. And, it's a community that's faced a lot of challenges over the last 10, 15 years plus. What roles have you played in helping support your community and lifting some of the voices and supporting people? I think during this time, but also in other times as well.
So alhamdulillah, I think due to my my history in the Dearborn Heights, Metro Detroit community, I'm like probably every other foreigner that came to this country, and that reached the American dream. And I came here when I was 14 years old. I tell my kids now I spoke 2 words of English, and within a decade I had my pharmacy degree. So that in itself, I think, gave me confidence, but also gave a lot of the young people around that come as immigrant. It gave them hope that if, a kid like me can come from Yemen and become a pharmacist in 10 years, then they can do the same. And I would also joke, in pharmacy we have very difficult words. So I would say to my staff, and I'm like, listen, 10 years, I came when I was 14. Within 10 years, I could pronounce the hardest, around. So it is not difficult for you to learn a language. It's not difficult for you to absorb more. But yeah, so speed forward. Yeah, I came from a decent background from Yemen. I came actually from a village, not even from a big city. So alhamdulillah, I elevated quickly in various areas of business. And I almost became, I would say, with all confidence, a role model for the Yemeni community and a role model for the Muslim community in general, but mainly for the Yemeni youth, because they can relate to me. They can relate to the struggle. And like I said, I used my background, and I used my the leadership that was given to me, or the skills that's given to me, to give back in various ways, whether it be supporting an organization called MISA, Michigan Youth Soccer Program, where I'm the lead sponsor for the past decade. They sponsor 300 kids to play soccer every on continuous basis, and that's been a very rewarding experience for me. Have a lot of youth who have parents who don't have the financial means to pay for them to play soccer, and I took the leadership and supported them, and still support them, and in various ways. And many of them have seen have come out and became very good professionals, and whether they continue to go to school for something else, or we have a couple of them in big league soccer. So I'm invited quite a bit to speak to the youth, whether it be schools with mainly new Arab American Muslim immigrants, so they can see successes and so on. Another thing that I've been heavily involved is kind of taking a leadership position within the medical world, with my good contacts that I built over the years, from pharmacists to physicians to other healthcare professionals and other business people who who are philanthropists and who can who have money to allocate, and sometimes they don't know what projects and what people to trust. I'm well integrated into the Metro Detroit community, so I would accept invitations to speak for various fundraisings, and I would encourage, I would use my leverage, and I would encourage people, my colleagues and my friends, to donate to certain projects, because I almost did the due diligence for them. I would meet the board members. I would understand what they're doing in the project, what is their goals, what is their mission, who are the board members, what is the vision for the next 10, 15, 20 years, and I would endorse it. So one of the biggest ones is Al Huda Mosque. So Al Huda Mosque in Dearborn on Warren and Wyoming, as an example, but as an example of a project that I served on from the get-go. I did not accept a board position because I did not want to be cornered. I don't want to be labeled as, oh, he's a board of that masjid, and he's gonna. I tell people all the time, and I do not want to be part of a particular board for a particular organization. It may take away from what I can do for the rest of the community. But nevertheless, Al Huda Mosque was a $7 million project, and it took over 7 years to put the project from concept to now it's open. I took a leadership position there as the financial advisor and fundraiser. Not on a continuous basis, but as a person where the board members, or mainly the president of the organization, would call me and let me know what the plans are. And I led a couple of efforts where we raised over $500,000 on 2 occasions. So that's that I'm very proud of our community. I'm very proud of the trust that people around me have given me to do a due diligence on a project, and allow them to donate with confidence that their money is going to the right cause. So I will continue to use that platform. I'm very comfortable with it. I'm confident of some of the projects I endorse, and and I think that every one of us can do something, and I only try to do what I'm good at. That's one thing I've learned about myself. If I'm good at something, I'll accept the.
Well,
if I'm not, politely just let someone else do
Decline,
it.
yeah. Well, I want to come back to some of the philanthropy that you're focused on, not only in giving but also advising, as well. But you brought up the Al Huda Mosque, and to sort of bring it back to the current context with the coronavirus situation, I know that a lot of masajids in the area have been have been essential as far as being testing sites or distributing food. What can you say about the Al Huda Masjid and
So
their involvement in fighting COVID or supporting the community?
yeah, so Al Huda and many other mosques, in our metro community, became heavily involved in organizing for COVID testing. We did major projects in all various mosques to make sure that people had a very easy place to get tested, and were not also intimidated by the process, and it was very convenient for them instead of driving to some other places. So played a heavy role in testing. And in fact, we had various clinics that would set up testing on a daily basis in various mosques, and it was in Al Huda, they played a huge part in that, as well as other the Muslim American Society Mosque in Dix, or in the south of Dearborn, as well as the Dearborn Community Center, also, which is Arabic called Masjid al-Salam, played a big role. And at the same time, because of everything that's happening, kids are home. Some families don't have much of a budget to, survive on limited income. So food drive was it is still, including the Islamic Center of Detroit (ICD) was played a big role. And like I said, yeah, we also used our pharmacies along with the masajid to help reach out to the African American communities, as some of my pharmacies are located in areas where the poverty is pretty widespread. And I told the mosque that if you guys have extra trucks of food, I would be willing to accept a truck, and we would hold a food drive. It doesn't reaching out to people who need your help doesn't have to have a zip code or a street limit. So alhamdulillah, we were successful in kind of merging the two, using the mosque as a place where donations, where food trucks would come in the park, and we would arrange a food drive at a local pharmacy. An example, we did one a month ago at 6 Mile, Farmore Pharmacy 6 Mile, where we had it was one of those days where there was a lot of givers in the community and not much takers. So I told them, I know an area where all this will be gone in 2 hours, and honestly, we had over 400 families that came through the Farmore and 6 Mile that were so thankful. And alhamdulillah, we use the name Mohamed and Ali as, here are the people who are helping. And honestly, I've enjoyed, working with our African American communities. They're amazing people. If you know how to, if you speak to them well and you take care of them and you're sincere in your thing, they're like anybody else. And they're very loyal and thankful to people who step up and help out.
Yeah, wonderful. And I want to, there's so much, we can kind of continue chatting
Sure.
about, this series, we kind of try to keep it a little bit shorter, so sadly we have to come to a close. But, one of the things I kind of wanted to dive back into was some of the philanthropy that you're involved in. And so I'm kind of curious, what are some of the key areas that you're focused on in your philanthropy, both in terms of giving, but then also in terms of advising and counseling, to communities that are seeking to raise money and seeking to raise funds.
Yeah. So, you touch a very important point, which I'm going to do my best to cover it in a very political and or very wide way.
Yeah.
Everyone, as an entrepreneur and a philanthropist and someone you've been given probably more than money that I deserve. People come to me for all kind of projects. The number one thing I tell the number one thing that I've learned through the years, and the one that I advise on all the time, it is not about the building you build and the bricks you put and the cement you pour and the lights you put on. You cannot, rely on donations just by showing someone a 25,000 square feet, beautifully looking center that you're going to build. You have to develop programs and vision for the programs and the right staffing in a 10, 15, 20-year vision. Otherwise, people like myself and others in my status, they don't want more buildings. They do not want more buildings. This is not going to work in the long run. It's not going to serve our community needs. an organization needs to have that arm just as important as a physical structure. Without doubt, that's what I look for. Every other month, people come to me from various areas of Michigan and even sometimes out of state, knocking on my doors looking for donations. I look at the project and when I ask that question about the programs, and you get that stare in the face. Oh, we have an imam and we have this guy. I said, no, I need a written plan. I need a professionally written, developed from every angle. Otherwise, I'm sorry, I can't. I just can't. We cannot keep pouring money into physical structures.
Mm.
Very, very. It's. I think people are starting to get it a little bit. That's what I kind of like why I endorsed Al Huda. They have a good vision of what they would like to do in the community. It's not a verbal vision. It's not something that they always told me over a coffee or over dinner.
Yeah.
And I'm that kind of person. Honestly, with all my respect to our community, a lot of them just meet and talk and just walk away, and then they come back next month and they talk again and they walk. So I'm a person of projects delivery by email and and by folders, because then I know someone spent time and thought about every angle. Otherwise, if you're gonna come talk to me for 2 hours and just leave, you're gonna forget half the stuff you said to me.
It has to be written down. Yeah.
It has to be written down. It has to be well thought out, well developed. You have to have the right people. So it's almost like a vision of a company. You can't, you can't basically just say I want to build a 10,000 square feet building and just, start doing stuff in it. No. So that's really kind of what's missing, and it continues to be missing. And my number one advice is who have money to give. We're looking for things. We're not looking for another. We're not looking just for another physical structure. Another. Alhamdulillah, building masajid is of course very good, but masajid themselves, without programs, are only a place to pray and leave. They're not serving the purpose in the West like they should be. So I hope more organizations and more mosques and more centers think about these things in a long-term plan. I hope I answered your question correctly.
No, you did. I mean, it's also just making me think. I think this is a longer conversation, about philanthropy and giving.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely hold another round of thing. But
yeah, and maybe it's like a panel, where we pull in some other voices. But sadly, we have to come to a close. Mohammed, I wanted to thank you so much for speaking with us today. And to our audience, if you're a listener and you have a story you'd like to share with us, or to be featured on the Zoom In series, please fill out the form linked below. Wishing everyone safety and good health. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Razi. Bye-bye.